Let's talk shop lighting. Here in my shop, I've got 11 of these LEDs, and they're just generic that I bought off of Amazon, and they look good in person. I really like how they light up the shop. I can do work, I can see everything I'm doing, but they look awful on camera. I spend about an hour to 2 hours every time I film in here, and it's just a pain to color correct the footage. And that's because these lights have a very low CRI. And CRI stands for Color Rendering Index. At high noon, the sun has a CRI of 100, which means all of the colors are displayed accurately. If your lights have a low CRI, that means they don't have all of the colors in the spectrum that they are producing. So in my quest to find better LEDs to replace these things, I found a company called American Green Lights, the sponsor of today's video. And Jim hooked me up with some retrofit lights. Here's one of them. And I'm gonna be hanging up 17 of these things today on the ceiling. But the first thing I need to do is get rid of these old ones. So let's do that.
All of my old LEDs were daisy chained together and mounted to the ceiling with toggle bolts. There's a bunch of them to take down, and rather than make you watch me take them all down, let's talk about what American Green Lights has to offer when you purchase their LEDs. The first thing that Jim needed from me was a layout of my shop. So I took some measurements and sketched out a hand-drawn layout and sent it over to him. Not too long after that, he sent me back a mock-up of a layout plan that shows exactly where each retrofit LED strip will go and what tool it will be above. But that's not all. Included in the layout was an intensity map that shows how bright the light will be above certain tools and tables, and also a 3D simulated model with several angles to show exactly where the lights will be. For my setup, I'll be installing these retrofit kit strips and drivers. Each strip is 24 watts, 5,000 degrees Kelvin, which is a cool white, more suitable for a work environment, and has a CRI of 95. Going back to that CRI chart, if you look at the top, you see that sunlight at noonday is equal to 100 CRI, which you can see has all of the colors of the rainbow. On the bottom of the chart, you can see that a standard T8 fluorescent bulb has a CRI of 85. And you can also see that all those greens and yellows and oranges are much higher than the rest of the colors, which is why skin tones and wood species don't look correct on camera. In the middle of the chart, you'll see the LEDs from American Green Lights, and they've got a CRI of 95. And look at all those colors they have in their spectrum. That's why I wanted these in my shop. Okay, back to the install. Installing the retrofit strips was really easy. I used a laser line and just held up each strip, made a mark on both sides, and then drilled holes for drywall anchors. I opted for some heavy duty ones, even though I don't really think I needed to. These things weigh almost nothing, but better safe than sorry. Also on the back of these strips, there is an adhesive strip that you can peel off and stick to whatever you want to mount these lights to. But I may want to take these lights with me someday, so I opted to keep that on and just use 2 screws to mount each strip to my ceiling. Working in the dark and then with my hands above my head all afternoon, I was pretty worn out by the time I got the last strip hung. But with the last strip hung, I could take a break and wire up the drivers. I decided to go with this electrical box that I'll be hanging to my ceiling, and it's going to be housing the 3 drivers that powers all of the LED strips. I just used some self-tapping screws to attach all 3 of these drivers inside of the box. And then I ran a power cord into one of those tie downs and then secured it tightly. I'm using these Wago wire nuts. They're lever wire nuts. I just recently found out about these things, and I will never use a traditional wire nut ever again. These things are amazing. Using some toggle bolts, I'm going to be attaching this electrical box to the ceiling. And then once I get it up there, I'll be running all of the power wires, which I'm using 18-2 to run to every single strip. And I thought I'd spare you all of the wiring because it's kind of boring. So just pretend that you watched me wire up all of those strips. And now it's time to plug it in. Oh yeah, and I wanted to make sure that light fixture would not come on. And here it is, turned on for the very first time, and I was floored. So let's take it back. Here's the original LEDs I had in my shop, and if you look around, everything has a really subtle but tinge of yellow in it. The wood looks more yellow, the blinds look yellow, the walls look yellow, even the black outfeed table looks a little yellow. My camera settings are shutter speed of 1/60th of a second, f3.5 with an ISO of 200. And that's going to be exactly the same on this next shot that I'm going to slide in right now of the new LEDs. And look at that side by side. The blinds actually look wider. The table looks like a correct black. Even my computer, the shelves, everything looks more correct and natural. And that's exactly what I wanted with these LEDs.
I couldn't be more happy with these lights. Everything from the initial customer service with American Green Lights to the installation to the high CRI, and just the overall quality of the light is just amazing. I'll have links to everything in the description below, and while you're down there, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and hit that too, and then turn on the bell so you know when I upload my next video. Until then, we'll see ya.